A Starstruck Podcast.
I'm a warrior.
Welcome to A Starstruck Podcast, where resilience meets reality, and every setback sparks a comeback.
When I jumped, my kneecap literally broke in half.
Ended up finding out, tore my ACL.
I tear my ACL at my highest point up to this point.
I took a wrong step, hurt my knee.
My ankle was turned the complete wrong direction.
Because I have Tourette syndrome.
That season propelled me to being first-round draft pick.
Our podcast dives deep into the untold stories of athletes who've battled career-threatening injuries, adversity, addiction.
The alcohol at the time wasn't helping my rehab process.
What if this is happening because it's helping me further down the line, as you explained? That perspective shift really helped me a lot.
Depression, ego, and financial struggle.
Having a support system, that was huge for me.
No, man, I've come too far to let this be my story.
Always work hard, always prepared, and you never know when it's going to be your time to shine.
Got it 10 o'clock at night, all right, I'm there.
When Tamika Catchings went down with an Achilles tendon injury last season, Carlos Knox played a major role in her rehabilitation.
Having nurse support, and then, of course, having you.
And came out stronger. A Starstruck Podcast, hosted by Carlos Knox. All right, a Starstruck Podcast, back at it. I have one of my favorite people of all time, and Miss Seimone Augustus, and she will be joining me, telling us all about her history, the way she came up, and how she dominated the WNBA for so long. She's a 4-time WNBA champion. She's also a WNBA Finals MVP, 8-time WNBA All-Star, All WNBA First Team, the WNBA Rookie of the Year. She was a 3-time Olympian, winning the gold. So she played on some special teams, and I wanted to make sure that we give her flowers on a Starstruck Podcast today. Moan, that Money Moan, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Lowe's. Thank you.
So happy that you're here today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yep, so what you're doing? Where you at now?
Back home, Louisiana,
Okay.
working under Coach Kim Mulkey, assistant coach here, getting ready for summer camps, scouting, all the things that we do collegiately to prepare for the next season.
Absolutely, yeah. So you enjoying the coaching in college coaching life?
Yeah, it's actually fun. It can be challenging, but yet fulfilling. Being able to see the girls just kind of go day to day and develop themselves as a young coach, just kind of learning your way around the coaching world, like thinking about philosophies and schemes and, just kind of sitting in and picking people's brains, but also, developing your own skills and things that you may want to do in the future.
Yes, for sure. Well, I was so happy to see that you joined the coaching circuit. Obviously, we got a chance to work down at AU, which was good for us a couple years ago. But just coming in the college game, where young ladies are so young and impressionable, and it's really a delight to have someone like yourself to be able to teach on that level, because they definitely need it. 18 to 22, you know how it is.
Yes, for sure. I feel like that's when I had the most growth, as a player. Like when I entered my first year at LSU, it was the first time I watched video and was able to see like my strengths, my weaknesses, how I can help my teammate, how I can get better, as a leader. Like so many different things kind of opened up for me during that time that really helped my game just kind of blossom, to be more prepared for the pro level. I feel like I had probably one of the smoothest transitions. When you think about the rookie wall that most people talk about, people get fatigued, or it's just a lot of information that you have to retain prior to you going in there. And I feel like you said, those 18 to 21, 22 years is what, really helped me develop into the professional that I was.
For sure. Where did it start for you, Mo? Where did you start, as a youngster?
Oh, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay.
I'm born and raised down here. Yeah, it started in the driveway, but even before that, it just started like just picking up the ball. My parents, I believe, were just trying to find stuff for me to do just to stay active, be outside. Back in the day, we were outside a lot. And so I tried a lot of sports, soccer, track, volleyball. I mean, you name it, I tried it. But it was something about when I picked up that basketball that it was just easy for me. Like when other things felt so difficult, like I remember going out to play tennis, and my dad was like, lobbing the ball over the net for you to kind of like volley and hit, and I was just like whamming it out of the park like a baseball.
Right.
And after I knocked that last ball out of there, he was like, you know what, I'm not shagging no more balls, and we like left the park. So I remember right after that, he introduced me to basketball, and I mean, I could just dribble, shoot, like the focus, the concentration needed to get better at that. It was just really easy for me.
Yeah, I could see. So that was very young. So when did you start realizing that, hey, I'm pretty good at this, or I think that I could go to the next level with it? Like around what age?
It took a while. I realized that I was pretty good in like biddy ball. I don't know, it's like between 8 and 10, like when they hang them little baskets on top of the baskets. It's like
biddy
around
ball.
that age. And so at the time I was like bigger than everyone else. Like I probably was the height I am now back then. Like I hit my growth spurt early. And so I was playing on like an all boys team. Like they didn't really have many girls teams. So they allowed me to play, and I would get out there and I would dunk the ball and like cause this big ass ruckus, amongst the crowd. And people just started showing up for our biddy ball games at like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, like just to see like, who is this girl dunking the ball on these dudes? Like, and it became a thing. Like I think at that point, feeling like love and hate at such a young age, you realize like, all right, something different about this. Like you have something that obviously attract people to what you're doing, like your gift, but then it's something that, like you said, it's easy for you to just kind of hone in on. And if you continue to develop it, like who knows what can happen? Like, because you have to think at that time, wasn't no WNBA around. Like we really didn't know about overseas and nothing like that. So I really didn't have a lot to like aspire to or dream of other than, maybe the Olympic team. But that came later in my basketball career. Like that was maybe high school when I really started to be like, oh, all right, I want to make that team. I want to make that 96 Olympic team, or, with that group of ladies or something like that. But from 8, 9 years old up into that, it was just like work, like hustle, like pure passion, joy for the game.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And what high school did you go to once you
went
decided?
Capital Senior High in Baton Rouge.
Okay. I'm familiar.
Yeah, we was pretty good. We was pretty good. We only lost 7 games in 4 years. So yeah.
You know what I love? I love this about killers. They always remember the numbers, man.
You have to,
Yes,
you have to. You have to. That's your work. That's your sweat, you put into it. So the things that we were doing, especially like before our time, like women's basketball wasn't really looked at like that. But for our school and for that time period, like we got more fans, we drew more fans than the guys. Like most times, the guys play, if it was the day that the girls and the guys played on the same day, the girls played first and then the guys played. Like, we was the featured game for the night. Like the guys played before us. So no, it was a pretty pivotal moment for us. Like being that girls basketball, women's basketball wasn't as popular, to be able to draw those type of crowds and fans and have a following like we did back in that day, like early 90s, was it was a big deal when you look back at it now.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys have, y'all got a history of having good teams, and obviously it started with you, but that's just always good to hear. High school is such a pivotal part of your career as well. That's good. All right, so now after high school, it's time to get recruited. Like, how did that recruiting process go for you?
It was crazy.
Yeah.
My recruiting process probably started at about 8 or 9. The first time I believe LSU saw me was like on a court, like one of the street ball courts out here. People just like word of mouth, and you pop up at the scene of like one of the more popular street ball courts. And from there, like I started receiving like handwritten letters and stuff like that from LSU, Coach Sue Gunner, like her staff at the time. And that just carried on throughout my high school days. I didn't really get seen by the rest of the nation until I was about 14. I got invited to Terre Haute, Indiana for a Blue Star Elite Camp. And I didn't know nothing about anything. Like I didn't know the girls was there that were ranked and travel teams and I'm from Baton Rouge country, I'm just taking on the opportunity. And so I get there and all the girls are looking around. They're like, what are you ranking? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not ranked.
Right.
But I know that ball bouncing. I know how high that basket is. So we just gonna once the ball gets tipped, we're gonna get it in. And so I just remember having a good weekend, like a real good weekend. And like the cherry on top of that weekend was we played 1-on-1. It was supposed to be like 1-on-1 3-bounce, what they normally play at camp at camps and stuff. But for whatever reason, some of the courts had already started. So it was like straight up ones. And I'm in there getting it in. Yeah, I'm in there getting it in. Beat this girl, she ranked whatever. Beat this person, she ranked whatever. I don't know what's going on. I'm just playing ones.
Oh, it took off. It took off after that.
Yeah, I'm just playing ones. And so we get to the final court, and I'm playing like a young lady that was like top 2, top 3 in her class. May have been the top. I literally have no idea. And beat her as one of the youngest campers there. And everybody just went crazy. It was like from that day all the way through my senior year, it was just like this. My mom couldn't get the mail out the mailbox. She like, hey, what we gonna do with all this? And I just kind of went through that process. And I literally, like, people probably don't believe me, but I went through every letter. Like, anyone that dared send a letter, I read it to see if it was authentic. Like, if it was something that people copy and paste and you could just take my name off and put somebody else's name on. If they actually hand wrote it. Was it consistent? Like, did they consistently send letters? Like, I went through the whole process because that matters. Like, when you're trying to decide where you're going to go for the next 4 years, it wasn't like now where you can move around. Once you got somewhere, if you dared transferred, it was, I think, a year suspension or something like that.
Yes,
if
you had to sit out a
conference season. And something like that, or 2 years outside of conference, whatever it was, you was going to get you a year or 2 year suspension, depending on where you decided to go. So you really had to be smart about what you were doing. And so I really took my time. I narrowed it down. My top 3 was LSU, Tennessee, and Duke. Took my trip to Duke. Loved it, but I just didn't feel like it was for me. And so it ended up being Tennessee and LSU. At the end, took my trip. Obviously, legendary Coach Pat Summitt. You're looking in the rafters. You see all the Hall of Famers. You see all the championships. You know the history. You know everything about Tennessee. So this is just kind of going to get some eyes on the campus and meet the team and see how you feel.
Yeah.
Then, the trip here was home. They like, well, what do you want to do? It wasn't really it was some structure to it. Like, all right, we're going to take you to the academic advisor. But whatever you want to do, if you want to have a good time, that's what we're here to do. And so, for me, the final decision came down to, years of just watching LSU women's basketball and seeing a very tough team that anytime the Tennessees, the Georgias, the Vanderbilts would come into our house, they would give them a run for their money. Like, whether they won or lost, it wasn't a big margin of victory. It was always kind of close. And so that mattered to me. Like, hell, 1 or 2 more players, what could be possible here? And so that was kind of the stance I took. A lot of the ladies that played on the team at the time, I grew up playing AAU ball against them, high school ball against them. So I knew these players. Like, I know what type of competitors they are. I know what we about to go and do if it, comes together the way we assume it will. And taking that leap of faith in just myself and my abilities, because if you think about that time, UConn and Tennessee were where everyone was going if you wanted to try to make it to the pros. Like, so to go against the grain and say, I think I can do it over here was almost like, what's she doing?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was a big bet. It was a big risk, but when you look at it now, it kind of paid off.
Heck yeah. You had to have extreme confidence, and that's most of the time, that's what legendary players and legendary careers are made of, people making decisions like that. So I can see that in you too, especially after knowing you after life after basketball and just being around. And yeah, that's good. That's perfect. That's perfect. Do you remember any of your high school teammates? I mean, did anyone go D1 with you or to other schools?
I did. I had a few that wasn't like big schools, but like Xavier down in New Orleans, I had a few go there.
Okay.
Southern University, right up the way. I had a few teammates, at least 5, I believe. I may be missing some, but some of them followed me from middle school. Like, they got attached to me some kind of way in middle school, and they was like, we going wherever you going. And it worked out for them. Like their parents understood, like they saw, like, all right, wherever this young lady go, the likelihood of my child getting seen is high,
It's
you
gonna be
know.
there,
And it
yeah.
wasn't no beef, no animosity. It's just that strategy. Like my child could go somewhere else, but might not get as many eyes as if my child went here and got an opportunity, you know. So they understood that, and a lot of them did, you know, get some chances after high school to play further.
You know what's crazy? I was just thinking about this. We both in the same business now, so it was 0 NIL.
Zero.
Wow. I mean, just thinking about that, just, you know, what that would look like. I'm sure you get around a lot of your college teammates because I do it. We do it every day in group texts. And, man, if we was playing back then with NIL and what it would look like, I mean, can you imagine how we would have navigated through today's time? Like, how do you think you would feel about that?
I don't know. Today's time is a lot. Like I appreciate the money, and I love seeing, you know, the student athletes get paid because, like you say, we wish we was getting that money for what we put out there on the floor. But that wasn't our time. We were the trailblazers. We were the people that paved the way for them. But I mean, I would have been all right. You would have been all right. We all would have just been living a better life. But I also worry about, you know, people like not really fighting for their dream to go further.
Yeah.
Because it's like you cashing out before your time when it's like, oh no, it's another pot of gold over there you could get to, but you got to work. And some people now are just seeing like what's right in front of them. And probably because a lot of people come from humble beginnings, never had whatever. And so you just like, I got to get it while it's hot. Like, you know, strike while the iron is hot. But, you know, for me, obviously I would want to get paid, but my focus and my hustle, my passion would have still been on like look at the W now.
The league, yes.
Look at the league now. Like, so I'm definitely pushing through this. But I know I'm not gonna be, you know, a broke rookie coming in. I'm gonna be all right when I get in, even though my salary once I get to the W won't be what the vets are making. I'm still okay. I'm building, and you building your brand individually to be able to use your name, likeness, and image to make some money until you get to those bigger contracts in the W.
Absolutely.
So I feel like I would have fared fairly well within this, just because I feel like I got a good head on my shoulders and my people are the same. So
for sure. And you know what? I thought about that too. Like even when we talk amongst each other about, you know, what it would have looked like, it still come down to like, you know, what should have happened, it did happen. And
it did.
You just never know, you know, what route, you know, where you would have went. And like you said, the hunger, that's an interesting take right there. Just the hunger of getting to the next level. But I've always thought about it like, you know, some players might just max out at the college level. You know what I mean?
True.
And with them maxing out at the college level, like you said, that wouldn't have been us, not with our mentality, but you know, looking at the big picture, I think the majority of the people are thinking max out. And, you know.
And some of that could be limited thinking, but also limited talent. Like we do have to be honest about it's very few of us.
Exactly.
You know, but it's a lot of ordinary basketball players that possess maybe a basketball mind and the gift to play, but not the talent that's going to get them to the next level. So, yeah, a lot of people are thinking like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get over there and jump with somebody that's 7'4", you know, on the NBA side, or 6'8" on the WNBA side. Like, I could really get it in on this level, build myself up to then transition. Maybe if it's not basketball, my brand is big enough to transition to something else, fashion, media, this, that. So it's options available. And like you said, people sometimes try to maximize that because they don't know if that other side, if that other opportunity to play further is there.
For sure. Yep. So that brings me to my next question. So as you transition from college, obviously our dreams and aspirations were the same. Can't wait to get drafted. Can't wait to get to the league and watching your favorite players. How was the draft situation for you? How did that process work for you?
Oh, I mean, that was stressful because you don't know. You know, you have your agents or your people and they like, oh, you could go here, you could go there. But when I looked at my draft board, I'm talking Cappy Poindexter, Monique Curry, Sophia Young, Candace Dupree, Barbara Turner, Lisa Willis, Nikki. I mean, you name it. It was stacked, and all of us had great careers. Cappy was doing her thing over at Rutgers. Mo was doing her thing over at Duke. I mean, didn't know, but I was like, just let me in the door.
Of course.
I don't care if it's Phoenix, Minnesota. I don't care. And you sitting there with your family, your friends, and everybody, and you're just hoping that your name get called. And when your name does get called, you just like really in shock for this long, because after that it's into the car wash, the media, and all this stuff here. And back then we used to leave like right after the draft, so we left that night, and I was in Minnesota the next morning to do their media circuit and everything. I don't even feel like I got a chance to come back home and like gather my stuff to get ready. Next thing you know, I'm in training camp and the ball is rolling. You know, you hitting the ground running basically. And I think it just never looked back. Like from my rookie year to maybe my fourth year in the league, we were the worst team in the league. And that's realistic. Like the top player never goes to the best team.
Of course.
You know, but when you come off of 4 years of success and, you know, wins and all that, it's a humbling experience to be at the bottom of the totem pole again. You know, I laugh because I remember Detroit was like one of the top teams when I first entered the league. Like they competing for championships every year. And I remember at the end of one of our years, we were playing them. They had already secured a playoff spot, everything. So we getting ready for the game. I mean, I'm out there getting warm, getting lathered up, sweating. And they like chilling on the side, arms crossed, watching us warm up. I'm like, y'all not gonna warm up? And they like, I'll beat y'all about 20 anyway. So, and I was like, damn.
That is hilarious because that's a true story.
It's a true story, and they really weren't lying, but we gave all we had.
You gave all you had.
It wasn't for the lack of trying. We put our best foot forward, and we just didn't have enough in my early years to really get over the hump and do the things that we wanted to do as a team. And I also went through quite a few coaching changes through that time. So, you know, when you have much change, you know, it's really kind of hard to find a steady flow of ascension, you know.
I remember, yeah. What do you think? When did you guys turn the corner on that? You know, because I remember, I definitely want to talk to you about when I was with Indiana as the player development coach and assistant, just our epic battles, but that kind of came later. Like we would hit the Eastern Conference Finals against you guys every year, but when did you really see that turning the corner? Was it the addition of a player? Was it, you know, getting used to the coach, getting used to the style, the system? How did that go for you?
I mean, a lot. I feel like a lot happened. All the stars aligned at the right time. Well, after 2009, I hurt myself, tore my ACL in 2009, so I was working to get back for 2010. Coach Reed was hired in 2010. So right away, the mentality of the team, the organization, like everything changed. Like, because she had come from Detroit. So they function and operate in a different manner. Like it was professional. Like we riding the bus, we doing this. Like she started putting all the pieces in place to create the organization that she, you know, hoped to see. And then, you know, I just remember having our first sit down conversation, and it was just like from my first year to the year that I got hurt, I was like the leading scorer and, you know, all this. Didn't play much D, but that was my role. I had to put the points on the board, you know. And she came to me and she was like, all right, I got an idea, got a little system that I want to run, but it's going to require you to take a little step back and give up, you know, certain things, sacrifice a little bit of your game, a little bit of yourself in order to make this bigger picture work. And I'm like, after 4 years of being the laughing stock of the league, winning 10 games a season, you like, if you got something, let's try it. And so everything started to align. I think we traded, got way. Some way we got a pick from Connecticut. They had a bad season. That pick ended up being the number 1 pick. That's Maya Moore. We already had Rebecca Brunson there. We got her in the dispersal draft when Sacramento folded. So these are your core pieces right here. Myself, Waylon, Maya, Brunson. That starts the dynasty in 2011. Like we had to go through the 2010 season just to kind of get a feel for each other and everything. And then once Maya dropped in there, the show was on the road. And even still, when we made it to 2011, we playing ball like, you know, you look around the gym and you see all this talent. And we know most times you get a lot of talent on a team, that doesn't mean it's going to equate to trophies or anything like that. But I think we all kind of clicked that training camp. Like we looked around. I think we passed the ball, overpassing, just trying to do the most because you're trying to respect your teammates, but at the same time, you got to be yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know what particular play, but I just remember like great ball movement, Kyle Maya right in her shooting pocket. Wow. And it was like a light bulb went off. We knew that we was dangerous and we about to go out here and play. And so we just started playing. And we whooping people, but they not believing it because years prior we had, I think the year that I tore my ACL, we was on a little streak. And I tore my ACL and then we went on the worst losing streak in WNBA history. So this was different though. We still weren't winning up until All-Star break. We get to All-Star break, people like, who y'all think the team to beat? Woo in the locker room at All-Star. And everybody like, oh, the Lynx doing good, but they always gonna hit a losing streak. Like that was the laughing, running joke in the locker room. And all of us, me, my way, all of us had made All-Stars. So that was the first time the Lynx had multiple All-Stars as well, I believe. And we looking around like, nah, this year different. I don't know what y'all on, but this year,
let's go.
Different. Yeah, but if y'all want to keep believing that, go ahead. Like we actually liked being the one that people overlook because then we was able to just work on our craft, get better with each other, build our team up, our culture to prepare ourselves for that playoff run that we had. And we never looked back. Even after All-Star break, we just kept going. I think we got the number 1 seed in the playoffs that year, or maybe in our conference, but we didn't lose a game when it came down to it. I was like, I just remember getting the playbook and I almost cried. My first playoff playbook, and it was like, this is what we're gonna be running, doing, or whatever. And I'm just sitting there like, we're going to the playoffs. And they like, you better not cry. Like, this is just the beginning. You cry at the end, fool. I'm like, but when you haven't been there, it's an emotional like situation. Yes. So then I'm sitting there with this book and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna get here again. So let's lock in. Let's lock in. And boy, did we like I said, we went on that run and brought home a championship for the first time in Minnesota history.
Oh my God. And it was a beautiful sight to see. And like I told you at the time, we hadn't really met yet, but I was at Indiana and we'd had some battles too, but you guys were definitely on that level where, we're trying to reach, we're trying to make sure that we are prepared, extremely prepared when we play y'all. And we just had some classic battles, man. I just remember us again in the Eastern Conference Finals together, just a lot of different things. I don't know if you remember this specific year when Maya Moore hit the three.
The shot. Oh my God. Yeah, that was
2015.
Yeah, she hit that thing. I mean, what was it, 0.7?
0.7. And you know what was the most impressive part was the pass. Y'all had way to take it out. And she was able to, the average person to kind of panic and like throw it in. But she was able to kind of hold it. Marissa Coleman turned around, was kind of out of position, and she held it just enough time to throw it right on the money, man. And it was, that was devastating for us. But it was a good experience.
Yeah, I mean, them Indy battles was tough. But you appreciate those battles because we know one thing: Indy was a tough defensive team that was, anchored by Tamika Catchings, Breon January, like all these players that just really took on that side of the basketball, and that was like, we're gonna lock you up or at least make it very difficult. So you earned everything that you got, and in that series, it was that we was like, Mari didn't hit that shot. I don't know, what I'm saying, what the next game would, what I'm saying? It would have been really hard to imagine what that next game was going to be like.
It was so many of those in our years. It was so many.
It was so many of those moments. But when you look back, that great players make great plays. Like you say, having that poise, like, that's what being on a great team is. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It could have went to anybody. And that's the hard part about scouting us. Like you say, I done scouted all this, but you don't know if it's coming to me. If Way wasn't taking it out, she would have been in and she a threat. Brunson underneath, waiting on the O board or some type of lob. You got Maya flying around off of screens. And you all got to give of each other in order to make this work. And Wade took her time, made the right pass. My just did mine, to be honest. Like, we done seen that shot fake one dribble so many times. Like, I would have to say she got the quickest release that I've, like, seen in a very long time.
Quickest release.
I don't know, rank 1 through 5, who got the quickest?
Right.
My mind is up there. And clutch shots at that. Not just, let me get it off.
That's what I was saying. I was about to say
clutch
that.
Shots.
Yes. Clutch. Hand in face. Get it up. Yeah. She was nice with that, for sure. Let's talk about your patent move, though. Pull up jump shot that will forever go down in history. Well, you kept the mid-range in the equation. You kept it in the conversation. Talk about that a little bit. How did you perfect that so good?
You got to shout out to my mom, because she was actually the first person that showed me mid-range.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? Like, we out in the yard. I'm young. You know, I'm learning the game at this point. I'm at the 8 to 10-year-old age. And I'm being cocky because I could hit a couple of shots and I could dribble a little bit and I could do all this. And she rarely ever comes outside. And this particular time, she was like, let me come outside, see what y'all doing. And she grabbed the rock and she like, y'all want to play a little horse? And I'm like, we play some horse. Her shot wasn't, Steph Curry or nothing like that. She had that old school shot where she held that ball underneath here and she had that like high like that. But all mid-range.
All mid-range.
Hit backboard. She taught me glass work. She like glass. I'm like, what's going on? I didn't even think about that, because all you thinking as a young, like, get it over the rim into the net. Get it over the rim into the net. She started busting out glass. Boom. Got to the last shot. Glass work, mid-range. Pow. I went over there, missed the shot. She was like, game. Walked off, went back in the house. And you know me, I'm like, any ball competitor, like, let's run that back. She like, nah, I beat you. I'm good. She has never come back out again. I've been asking her for a rematch since then. And my mom, she the only person that's ever beat me. But me getting my butt whooped, I'm like, what is this shot she taking?
Right.
She, because nobody in the yard could do it. Because we shooting layups or we shooting real long shots. Nobody in the yard could do it. From that day forward, knocking them down.
Yes.
Knocking them down. Sunshine. When it was dark outside, it got so bad for me. Like, I was outside late at night when the street light, people like, street light, come on. Like, the street light was going off and coming back on. It was flickering. I was out there so long. But my dad would put like chain nets on the goal. So I got so good at knowing my shot that I knew the ching of the nets when it went in.
Okay.
When it went in, when it missed, when it got stuck. And I had to go get the ball, the stick to get the ball out of there, and get the nets back right. I had got to that point about my mid-range. Like, the neighbors, they still to this day, they like, we was up all night listening to them chain nets, people trying to go to work in the morning. Because I was just out there ringing them things.
Yes.
And, now learning, like, the mid-range, I feel like is a lost art, but it's also like one of the most vital parts of your game. Like, if you just stuck being a driver or a three-point shooter, I could get to that mid-range. Like, you can run me off the line, but then I'm where I want to be. You can come and try to step up in the mid-range, but I can attack you and get to the rim.
Exactly.
Like, it allows you to be a multi-level, scorer.
But you know what? You know what's tough about that? And I'm glad we're talking about this, because the elite know exactly how to maneuver when it comes to this. So if you just get in a gym and you train someone and you try to train them on a mid-range shot, or, coming off the ball screen, pull up mid-range, it's such a difficult thing for people to pick up on these days, because the analytics of the game is three-pointers or layups, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we got that. But it's the feel. Like, what you're describing is the feel for the game, because what we're not talking about, obviously you were pulling up and you were shooting, at a high efficiency level for sure. But we ain't talking about with hands in your face and off the bumps, and it's a whole lot of different things that you brought to the game where you could still get your mid-range shot up off the bump or off the off the dribble. And that's not something easy that you can teach, because I know you go through this, because I do. You know, as a player, it's like, you want to put your abilities into the young ladies that you're teaching. But it goes so much further. It's a feel for the game. And you have to have that by, playing 21, playing 2-on-2, 3-on-3, some of the things that we were able to do at such a young age for a long time that people don't really do these days. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I literally just was discussing this, and they was like, well, what's the difference between now and then? I was like, well, I didn't have a trainer. Like,
Right.
If I had one, it was my dad. And to be honest, he came outside. He had his gadgets and gadgets that he made at homemade gadgets and gadgets.
Yeah.
And we out in the yard and we doing, basic fundamental stuff like cone drills and, all this stuff, form shooting before people called it form shooting. Like, we was doing all of this stuff, but what we really did more than anything was hoop. It wasn't a place that I didn't go around Baton Rouge that I got a game. And once you start traveling around the city, you start like, oh, these over here, they the jumpers. They can jump through the roof. They fast. They can run. These the defensive ones. They aggressive. Oh, you can run over them. They not tough. You start figuring out the different areas and different people. But most importantly, you start figuring out yourself.
Exactly.
And you like, as most times I was the only girl out there, so I'm out there automatically. They like, who guarding that girl? So I'm getting that type of energy. So I already got to come out there with a type of mentality like, all right, I got to deal with whatever type of aggression, attitude, temperament these guys might have to have a girl on the court with them, and then combat that by being smart. Like, I'm not going to out jump no dude. I'm not strong. Like, I was smart about that.
Exactly.
And so being able to maneuver around guys and do certain things, it gave me confidence. I learned a lot because it was some games that I was out physicaled. Like, they just got into me and I couldn't handle that. Or they were out jumping me and I couldn't get my shot off. Or they were quicker than me and I couldn't get by them. Those are the moments where you really start to feel your instincts kicking in.
Yes.
And training is totally different than that, because you're training a move. Do you know when to use this move? Why are you using this move? I can do it right now because we playing a little dummy defense and I got the pads and I'm gonna do this and you gonna snake to the middle and the defense gonna, but really and truly, you don't know how the defense coming.
That's exactly
And you
right.
got some tenths of a second to make a decision, and the right decision, the best decision at the time that's available. And sometimes I've seen players that trained, then get in the game, and you could tell, like now you could tell the difference between people that train and people that hoop. Like, you literally, when you scout, you like, oh, they've been training.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's a hooper.
It's a feel. Right.
It's a feel. You can see it. You can see how they navigating out there on the court. You can even tell the intensity or the tenacity in which they play with, because when you go and train, you don't have that much intent. You can't, because you're not competing against nobody to be like, But when you playing, you got to match whoever picking you up. You got to match that energy or you get dominated that possession. So you can even tell that when they are playing, just the way that they the demeanor and determination that they putting behind the actions that they trying to do on the court.
Of course.
So I would say if you're gonna train, make it make sense.
Make it make
for
sense.
the game. You know what I'm saying? It always sharpen the tools that's sharp. You know what I'm saying? But then take them little dull ones you got in there. Pick one. You can't sharpen all of them at the same time. Find one thing. That's what, like, one of the OGs I can't remember had told me, was like, every year when you in this league, come back with something new. Just one thing. Just one thing. You ain't got to work on everything. Just one thing plus what you already got. By the time you get to year 5, now you got 5 new things plus what you already had.
That's real. That
you
is,
know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so I prided myself on that. And my biggest thing, it was shooting. Like, my mid-range was on point, but my 3-ball, because my mid-range was so flat, I didn't have arc when it came to my 3-ball.
Yeah.
So my years was just being a consistent 3-point shooter, like not Amaya Moore coming off screen shooting that thing, but like open 3, you got to set your feet, get that thing up, and it should be a knockdown 3.
Knock it
so,
down. Yeah, you could tell too. You developed that, later, but that I don't know, that mid range was so deadly that it just allowed you to have, like you said, a lot of tools in your toolbox. So it was good. It was good. One of the things that I wanted to note as you were speaking was just talking about the game of 21. You remember we used to play 21, 32. One of the things that is just a lost art is the things that we picked up out of that game. And I know it seemed funny and it seems weird, but just think about what I'm saying. In 21, you got to rebound, you got to score against a double, you got to make free throws, you got to really be in shape to play a long time because it's a long way to 21. I mean, there's so many different things that you learn from an instinctive standpoint playing the game of 21. And the reason why I bring it up is because in our era, I mean, that's what we had. I mean, you would push it to 2-on-2, 3-on-3 and just, fool around. But when you first walk to the court, it's check up. Who's shooting? 21, let's go. 32. And that leads into people. Yes. So that's what I'm saying. Just that instinctive motivation every day. Like, I couldn't wait to win the 21 game. My goal was I'm not losing in 21 a day, ever.
That was a badge of honor because, like you say, you could be playing against 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. Mm-hmm. And you just played until you got enough people to play, like you say, either 2-on-2, 3-on-3, or 5-on-5.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And if you didn't have enough, you just 21 to the death, and you just was trying to gain as many wins as you could. For you was like, all right, I'm about to head to the house, or somebody get mad and they like, I'm taking my ball. They gonna take their ball. Right. So you just try to get your dubs in until somebody take their ball.
That's so real. It's amazing how hoop is so universal. And when you talk to people that really played and, dominated, it'd be the same identical stories. Same identical. So, Mon, listen, one of the things that we pride ourselves on here, Starstruck Podcast, is making sure, from a resilient standpoint, that people understand how to overcome things. And injury has been something very big. I'm very passionate about that because that's my story. And that's exactly one of the things that I want to project when I talk about, a Starstruck Podcast. But I picked you because I know I've watched you come up and I've known your resilient story, and it's several things we can go into, but I just want you to share that. I want you to tell me, a little bit about when you tore your ACL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was 2009, tore my ACL, playing a game, driving to the basket, got a little contact. And to be honest, I thought, that was my first big injury ever. Like, I had the basketball and little jam fingers, sprained ankle, stuff like that. You're going to come back after some Aleve, few Tylenol,
Yeah.
But this was like the first major injury I had where I'm without ball. I don't know what this knee going to do. If anything, I actually thought I dislocated my kneecap. I was like, just pop that thing back in because I felt the shift, the move. Mm-hmm. And they carried me off the court, and I'm just still in there, still trying to be optimistic about like, it's just a dislocation. And they came in and confirmed that it was ACL. And I just like, to be honest, you go into a depression because ball is everything. Like you put your all into it. Like I done made it to professional level. It's my job.
Yeah.
Like this is how I bring home, my money, take care of my family type situation. So you're like, well, what is this about to be like? And then they tell you the recovery is 8 to 9 months or 4 year, really and truly, before you feel like yourself. And even after a year, you don't really, feel like yourself. It's like a full year after that you back to normal. And it's just a real tedious process. Like it starts off very slow where you just doing little small movements, and then you get on the bike, and every moment could be encouraging or discouraging depending on where you at mentally, because one day you could come in and you can get some flexion and you like, whoa, and the next day you get nothing.
Yes.
And you like, what the hell is going on? One day you could paddle on the bike, the next day you can only do a half moon. And you just like, is it gonna be like this all the time? And you starting to play with yourself or your mind, and you just you in a place where you like really figuring out yourself. Who are you gonna be after this? Because we've all heard the stories about a lot of people that have gotten hurt and they haven't come back the same player, both mentally or physically, after injuring themselves, and they repeatedly injure themselves, and next thing you know, they're out of the league or their career is over.
Yeah.
And I just kind of wanted to prevent that. So I jumped in head first. I had great therapists. I had, great trainers, all that, like people that pushed me. I had my peers in the league, everyone that had went through some type of ACL injury, text, call, like people that I didn't even know. Like they knew me, I knew them, but we ain't have that type of relationship. And they would just drop little tidbits here and there, like push yourself every day or, whatever little quotes they had. And they didn't know how far that went with me. Like that went a long way. That really helped me keep myself going really. And the last person that really talked to me and like after I did, come back from my ACL was one of my teammates, Donika Hodges-Lewis. I just remember I was at a point in my career where I was like re-signing shoe contracts and re-signing this, and everybody's just like, well, you're coming back from injuries, so we don't know. So, they start being kind of funny with your money because they don't know what you're going to be like when you get back. And so I just remember her sitting down with me and she was like, look, sports is like, what have you done lately? You've been hurt for a year. So people really don't know what you're going to be able to do. You can't take no offense to it. You just got to put the work in and then come out here and show people. And she was like, advised me to like, put all my put your money in bonus, and then you strive to go get them bonuses. And I was like, all right, cool. I heavy loaded my bonuses and I went to work. Olympics, All-Star, WNBA champion. When I came back from that ACL, it was on and it was popping. And I was just rolling in success, but also rolling in the dough because I had front loaded. I had put all my money on my bonuses. So basically I bet on me because if I don't achieve any of this, I have to pay it. But if I hit those markers, then I'm good. So, I had, like I said, a good bit of advice. I had internal determination. Like I just didn't want this to be it, like known as the person that just kind of faded away after the injury. I wanted to be able to bounce back and make a statement and, make a legacy for myself.
Yes, I can see that too. I heard you mention like depression, when that happened to you, did you ever go into a place where, you kind of wanted to let it go or give up? Or was it always, no matter what, I'm a jump right on this and I'm going to take it to the house?
Yeah, I never had no give up. I ain't come from no give up.
Right.
The depression, it sneaks up on you. Like you don't even know. You could just be sitting in the house for a string of days and you thinking like, I'm still going through my routine. So I'm getting up going to therapy. I'm getting up doing all the stuff that I'm supposed to go and do. But maybe you don't have the excitement, the energy. I don't know. This is when family members and real friends come in and they like, you're not yourself. You don't seem like yourself today. You good? You all right? And you're like, no, I'm good. I'm all right. And if enough people keep asking you, it's like, well, I must be projecting off something that makes it seem as if I'm not all right. Like, so something must be going on. Like, and it's okay for you to be not all right. Like you're in probably a situation, like you said, like I said, like a situation I've never been in before in my life. So yeah, it's okay for me to be upset or depressed or whatever or down, but
of course
not to stay down. Like that, I ain't never gonna stay down. So my get back up was fast. As soon as enough people asked me if you okay, I took that as a sign or a warning to be like, all right, it's time to readjust something. Readjust your energy, your look, your whatever. And I just got to work.
See, that's exactly why I wanted to ask you that. Because again, if you talk to people that are elite mindset people, they can give you like the jewels and the nuggets to really get through it. Because it's somebody, that's experiencing injuries and falling into that depression. And again, that's what I'm talking about with our platform. One of the reasons I was motivated to do this is because I learned just being around and talking to people. Like you might have a couple on your team right now. We might have a couple on our team right now that's just, they just can't get over the hump when it comes to mentally thinking. Now, you got your dogs. Don't get me wrong. You got people that's going to go get it. But I want to make sure that people understand the I don't know, just the rhythm and the format of trying to get back, being resilient, getting over different things. And obviously it's different things. It's playing, it's people, it's family, it's teammates, but ultimately it has to come from within. So I want to always provide people with that feel too.
Everything is from within. I mean, we all feel the pressures, whether it's from family. At some point in our life, you got family that's, they know better. People that may or may not have played ball or whatever, they in your ear, you got to deal with that. You're dealing with trying to just be the best basketball player or athlete that you can be. You got to deal with the stresses of that. How do I consistently go in here and do the right thing, make the right choices, both mentally, physically, spiritually, like whatever you got to do to, get yourself centered and balanced. You go out into the world, you presenting your gift.
Yes, for sure.
And what you do when you present your gift, you put it out there. It's almost like you shining your light for people to see. And some people don't like that. So now you got to deal with the criticism and the ridicule and all this stuff here. And you got people that's over here supporting you, but sometimes you hear this louder than you hear like the love and the support and all this stuff here. So you constantly like juggling the love and stuff, the support that is there and is constantly there, and then everything else that you can't see, the loud noise that continues to help you fluctuate your emotions. And I got into meditation, like to help with things like that. Like we didn't live in this time, this social media time. We were kind of at the beginning of it, but immediately you got to find something to center yourself, to find your way back to who you are, what you want, to a solid stance, to think about what's your next move. Like you just can't be moving without any type of thought. And I think a lot of times it's not a lot of thinking going on, anymore. Even when you think about what's going on the court, like a lot of people just playing. It's like, hey, take a minute. Hey, see what's going on the court. Like, think about it. If she move here, she go there, you could go there, It's a flow that you have to find for yourself. And it's also some boundaries that you have to set for yourself to be able to further commit to your peace, your inner peace as you go on this journey, because it's going to be a while. It's going to be wild for the star athlete. It's going to be wild for the person that's sitting by the water cooler. Like everybody's experiencing some type of stress, some type of success, whether we know it or not. And you got to be able to handle, everything that's coming your way.
For sure. When you talked about meditating, is there anything specific? Like, did you learn to meditate from somewhere, or did you just come up with it yourself? How did that come about?
I don't know. I just kind of fell into, like, I've always been like a spiritual person. So I just kind of gravitated there, and you start getting books, meeting people. Like a lot of the stuff that I have on meditation is from people, strangers that I met just talking. It could be on the plane and we just having a conversation. Like, oh, I was reading this book. Here, you read it. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I just kind of go on my journey. If I love that author, I keep following, the path of that author, finding stuff that I like. And really, it's no one way to do anything. It's more than one way to bake a cake. Like some mornings I get up and I'll sit in silence for 10 minutes and just try to focus on whatever it is that I'm trying to manifest. You know what I'm saying? Some days I have an altar with, my candles and my prayer hands and all this stuff here, and I'll sit there. Some days I'll just literally sit with a sound bowl and sit there for 5 minutes. It's no particular time. It's just when I feel like I'm ready, I feel like I'm ready to start my day. As of lately, my routine has been some type of meditation or candles, candles or something like that. And then I'm on the Peloton for like an hour. And it's not no fast walk or nothing like that. It's just like a mindful walk. Like I literally just get on there and just kind of walk and find myself. By the time my time is over, I feel like I'm ready to go out into the world because I've now released whatever it was I needed to release.
That's good. Again, that's why I wanted to make sure that I asked that question, because I don't know, man. You just never know who you can help by just giving them your routine, some of the things that you do, some of the ways that you handle it. And with you being such an elite athlete and now elite coach, just those nuggets for people to understand and see how to navigate. One of the other questions I wanted to ask you, the Olympic team. Like when it was time to, we kind of capped it off at the WNBA, but I definitely want people to hear about your Olympic experience. How was that for you when, you were selected to get onto one of the, most prestigious teams in life, really? How was that for you?
That was like the goal list. Like I told you, come high school, that was the only team that I'm like, oh, I want to be there, because the WNBA was kind of like you could hear rumblings, but nothing was ever like cemented like it was coming. So I'm pointing to the dream team, the national team. And I just remember my journey, like going through college. Obviously, you get invited to some of the USA like U teams and stuff like that, and I was cut off of 2 of them. And so after I got cut the second time, I was like, they used to send out questionnaires, pamphlets for you to fill out to then turn back in to let them know that you was going to be attending the camp, and I didn't fill it out. And so I'm assuming, the head of whatever called Coach Gunner and told her that they hadn't received my paperwork, so on and so forth. So I just remember Coach Gunner pulling up to the locker room. And normally when she pulled up to the locker, she normally just go straight to the gym, go in, whatever. If she pulled up to the locker room, somebody was in trouble. Missed class, something. So she pulled up to the locker room, people like, oh, Lord, Coach Gunner here. And they called me. And so everybody was really on high alert, because I ain't never been in trouble. Like, I ain't never really getting no trouble. So I'm like, Lord, what could she want? So I go out there. I remember sitting on the golf cart, and she was just like, USA said they hadn't received your packet, yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, I didn't turn it in because I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And so right there on that golf cart, like, she broke down the entire history of USA women's basketball. I didn't even know that she was the Olympic team coach, but they didn't go because that was the team that they had to strike.
Okay.
And so she broke down all this stuff. She was like, women come before you. They passing the torch. You could be the next one pass the torch. I mean, she gave me the whole Olympic talk. And I'm sitting there and I'm still, being bratty. I'm like, yeah, all right. And she was like, well, since that didn't move you, would you do it for me? And I'm like, all right, coach, I'll do it for you. She was like, if you go there and you don't make it, I won't bother you again about it. And I was like, all right, cool. So I headed out to Colorado, and Coach Jim Foster was the coach. And I had been playing fairly well that first little to-do. And he came up to me, I remember the last day, and he was like, you've been playing all right, but show me what you got today. And I was like, oh, all right, bet. So I went out there, I just started hooping. I don't even know what I was doing, to be honest. I couldn't tell you. All I know is whenever the scrimmages and stuff was over, everybody was like, yo, you was out there balling, you was out there hooping.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, all right, well, shit, probably gonna make the team, And so back then they used to call, if they call your number, you go over here. If they don't call your number, you go back to the dorms. And so they started calling numbers. I'm thinking they gonna call like from best to whatever. I don't know. I'm thinking performance-wise.
Yeah.
Numbers getting called. What my number? Another number get called. What my number? Another number get called. What my number? I'm like, oh, these people tripping. I'm starting to grab my bags, my socks, everything. I'm getting ready to go back to the thing. Then I hear my number call. And I was like, darted over to the little area where they were with the the paperwork and everything for you to get ready to sign up for the trip or whatever we were doing. And I felt like this sense of relief, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I had went the other 2 times, thought I had made it, but when I got my criticism, my eval back, it was like I didn't really know play calls. I didn't know how to run a structured offense. Like, I was great one-on-one. I could score the ball. Defensively, I struggled a lot, so on and so forth. And you don't factor all that in. You're just mad when you get cut. And then when you finally make the team, you like, oh, all that stuff they say I needed to work on, all that stuff that I failed at before, I finally passed the test.
I'm better, yeah.
Like, I finally passed that test. So that was the first, I think it was university games. That was the first time I made a U.S. team. I went on there. I think we won everything there, and from there I entered the national team pool. Now that's the scary part, because now you ain't dealing with no college. These grown women, these are legends. This is Lisa Leslie still playing ball, Tina Thompson still playing ball, Delisha Milne-Jones, Katie Smith. Like, these are real legends still playing ball, and you trying to make this national team. And I'm like one of the youngest players, like, trying out for this team. So I'm like, there's no way I'm making the team over any of the OGs. And I just remember Delisha and Katie like pulled me to the side on one of the circuits that we had, and they was like, we know you can score the ball, like That's easy. What else can you do? Like, because that's what's going to help you make the team. It was like, can you bring energy? Can you play some defense? Like, some hustle? Like, you got to be able to give us some rest. And in that time that we getting some rest, what you going to be doing out there? Just scoring the ball? And I was like, I don't know.
That helped
it was
you.
like, you need to figure that out. You need to figure that out. And so I did. And I became like, I feel like one of the second team leaders, like for the national team. Like I took on, like, all right, that's the first group. We the second best team in the world. Like, what we gonna do when we go out there? And kind of just got the second group organized and went out there. And most times I would go out there and be subbed in first or somewhere, first or second sub. So I'm like, all right, y'all, it's time to bust this thing open. So we would always pride ourselves, like as a second group, as a young group, we like, they gonna start the game, but we gonna finish it. And we did. They'd come out, game up 10. We like, all right, they up 10, we're going to push it to 25. And so that's how we competed with ourselves, but then we also competed with the OGs too. We like, so what y'all going to do when y'all get in? Because y'all see what we did.
Of course.
And it just became a big battle that ultimately helped us because compared to other countries, we don't get as much time together. When other countries get to go and travel around the Olympic year and do different friendly games and all that, as you know, we competing in the WNBA, then we got to halt the season and then get together, practice for about 3 weeks, and then we head into the Olympics to go and play when everybody else been traveling around the whole year, bonding and building up team chemistry. Well, we don't. So we had to find like something within our group that we can just compete, hurry up and get that chemistry that we need to go out and compete against the rest of the world.
Absolutely. Yes. I like that story because, again, when we talk about, getting cut, you talked about getting cut twice. And how did you respond? How do you bounce back? And it's so many people out there that, they may be dealing with different things. It may not be getting cut from the USA team, but it could be your junior high school, your high school, or whatever. But I just like to share those moments, especially from people that has done it and are willing to give back. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect. Where do you see yourself, like in the next 5? Or even 10. I mean, sometimes that's a difficult conversation or question to answer. But let me just say it like this, because you mean a lot to me and you mean a lot to the women's game. The stage that you're on now is phenomenal, incredible. And the transition that you've made from player to coach, again, it's astronomical. It's not easy for players to go to the coaching ranks, just life after basketball, period. It's not an easy transition. I can remember us talking at the AU a little bit, when you're just kind of getting your feet wet and it's like, do I really want to do this? You hope as a coach, you're capable of getting past that preliminary period because you got so much to offer. I watched the transition. I don't know if you remember when I was coaching in the Indiana and you was with the LA. It's like, it was just so cool to see somebody that has accomplished so much and just was a killer and a dog. And that's how we talk. That's how we
Right.
respect people, because that's what it is. And we've been around those our whole life. So just 5 or 10 years from now, I know that was long-winded, but, I like talking to you too. You know what I mean?
No, thank you for the flowers because, like you said, it is very hard to think as a former player you want to jump right into coaching. For some people, it's easy because this is what they've been thinking about their whole life. They're like, as soon as I finish playing, I'm going to coach.
Right. Not me.
Yeah, that wasn't necessarily the case for me either. I wanted to do many other things other than, coaching. And that's not to say that you can't, but coaching just kept coming back. And, you got to go like your grandma always said, if something keep coming to you, God's trying to tell you something. And so I literally just took an offer, especially after I finished because I retired so quickly. Literally was playing one day and was coaching the next day.
I remember.
And and like the first year was just more observation. Like, do you even want to do this? You want to be around the game?
Yeah.
And I just got a chance to kind of stand off to the side, see what coaches do, see how players move, what they do, kind of instruct a little bit. And I remember instructing the player to do something and they did it, and I felt a little like, okay, all right now, all right, I can see myself kind of doing that. But for myself, I was always insecure in my voice because I don't talk a lot, I don't talk loud, I don't know what is a coach. Like, everybody has their own different personalities as a coach, and sometimes on the sideline is one thing and at home is another thing, or you could be the same person. Like, you really don't know. So like trying to figure that out, I'm like, well, who is Coach Money? Like, could I be this quiet coach that just talks like we're talking right here, or do I have to find this demeanor about myself like Sasha Fierce and become all this? Like, I don't know. And so that always worried me because I'm like, I don't know if I could put on a show, but I know basketball. Of course. I think AU was a great development period for me because I got to meet people like yourself, like them car rides we had from the gym back to the hotel.
Right.
Though it was a short ride, it meant a lot because we had like in-depth conversations. Like, you were in between like jobs and trying to figure out what was your next step. And that was a great learning experience for a young coach because it's like you've been in the game for a little while and yet you still had a transition that you were trying to figure out what was next for you. We both sitting at AU and we, like, I'm trying to figure out, like, we trying to figure out what is AU and what we do here and what's going on. And it was just a beautiful
That is the truth, but go ahead.
Right, but it was a beautiful opportunity for like myself because I was able to figure out like who I was and what I was with. I said coaching without consequence because the players had control over everything, so they told you how much they wanted to practice, if they wanted to practice, what they wanted to practice. If they didn't want to practice anything, they just wanted to go out there and hoop. Who got drafted or was the captain for the week really determined on how much work he was going to do. Some weeks you was just like, I'm over here cheering for you, baby. Good luck, And some weeks you in there getting them X's and O's in and you trying to figure out what stats to put on the board and all this stuff here. And so that really gave me an opportunity to be like, all right, can you sit on the hot seat? It's time to sit on the hot seat. But also I think for a young coach, can you take the back seat? Because some coaches be over like micromanaging the situation when it don't even need to. Like, AU proved that sometimes you just let them go.
Of course, that's real.
And how many 3-0 weeks some coaches had and they ain't even do no work. They was just sitting over there and the players was just doing their thing. They had drafted the players that they wanted and they were doing their thing. And I was like, that really hit me because I've been coached by, you've been coached by many of coaches that's like, do it this way, do it like that, did it. You ain't really never had no coach that took their hands off the wheel and was like, what y'all got? Exactly. Y'all know how to play the game? Show me y'all know how to play. I can help y'all with some adjustments when you need it, but if you don't need it, you good. Go ahead.
That's so true.
That really helped me as a young coach because now I'm thinking like, I don't want to be ripping and right. If I could train you or teach you enough that I ain't even got to get up and coach. I want to look good at the game. I'm going to put my stuff on, sit at the game, watch the game like the fans. And so that really helped me like want to further like, all right, well, I really want to figure this out. Like, what my philosophy? What is this? What is that? And lo and behold, here come LSU knocking on my door like, you want to come over here? And I'm like, all right, this a whole nother level that I ain't been on in like over 20 years. Like, I ain't been at this level since I played at this level. So, and it's changed so much. I don't even know, a lot of these kids some of them don't even know who I am. Their parents know who I am.
I know.
And so their parents like, you don't know who that is? And they like, nah, they don't know. And so now you gotta, ingrain yourself back in this culture, teach these kids not just about the game, but about you, the legends before you. Like, it's so much information you got to give, but you got to figure out what's worth giving and what's gonna help them like get to where they want to get to. So I think that's what's really keeping my fire lit. It's like I ain't trying to get them to be me, but I'm trying to get them to figure out the best version of them, both on and off the court. Because like you said, this is a crucial time for young minds and young adults to figure out what the next 4 years is going to look like. Because when you leave here, you either enter in the real world, meaning 9 to 5 or whatever, or you got a few more years to bounce the ball. So I feel like I can help with that transition a little bit better than maybe, they don't need me on the pro level. They got it all figured out. They growing, like things are going well, but this level is where, you know, we need the most work to help those girls get over there, and not just get there, but stay there. Because some of them get there, but you know, it don't stick for them.
For sure. So within the next 5, you want to be a head coach, or what do you want to do?
I want to be. I'm gonna give it a shot. My friend just asked me that. She was like, "You gonna coach it? What you gonna do?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot. You know, I'm always a person that's like, I remember my dad sat me down when I was younger. He showed me his
portfolio. His portfolio.
No, what's the book you get after high school? The
yearbook.
Yeah, the yearbook.
Yeah.
My dad showed me his yearbook, and all through his yearbook, he must have been an amazing athlete, but he just, you know, he didn't try a whole lot. Everything just came easy to him. So the whole yearbook, everybody that wrote something was just like, Seymour, just try. If you try, you'll be amazing. Just try. And I looked at him, I'm like, why you ain't try? He was like, oh, you know, it didn't, you know, certain things just didn't even matter to me back then. But if I had to do it all over again, I would. And so he always was like, well, I'm going to encourage you to just try. Even if you fail, don't worry about it, just try. And so even though I may have a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry, a lot of fear, whatever, I am going to be courageous enough to say, I'm going to give it a try. If an opportunity comes for me to coach at a head coaching position, I'm going to see what I can do.
That's good. That's good stuff. Well, one of the things that we used to talk about when we were at AU was just the ability to network. You know, I'm always here for you, and I'm always going to be available. You know, so if I can ever do anything with you or for you, because you never know. I mean, when it's time to get head coaching positions and this and that, I mean, it's all about who you know, and you want someone next to you that you really understand and, you know, are just solid with. You know what I mean? So just continue to create those relationships and network your butt off. And my biggest thing is being present, you know, keeping your 2 feet planted where they are and making sure that you do an excellent job, and God will do the rest. You know how it goes. Goes. But I am so happy that you was able to join me tonight. Thank you so much. And I definitely I look forward to doing it again, because, you know, all of the guests that I bring on, you know, they always talk about this being the beginning stages. And with it being the beginning stages, I'm gonna cover a whole lot, because this is my passion. This is my focus, and moving forward, you know, along with our coaching, I want this to be a huge platform for everything and everybody. So, again, I can't thank you enough for being on.
No, thank you for having me. And when you circle back, I'll be here.
When you find those people that's incognito, Maya Moore, Sylvia Fowles. No,
I
actually,
probably get sealed before Maya. I probably could get sealed before my Maya.
No, Sylvia's my girl too. I just ain't reached out to her. So
okay, yeah, that's easy. My Maya gonna be hard.
I know. Well, hopefully she's doing great somewhere, and she's able to watch this and watch her teammates still do her thing.
Right. She watching. She texts whenever she sees something, but Maya gonna be ghost.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
Nah, I'll reach out to Sil and let her know you're gonna be reaching out to us.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, much love, Mo, and I really appreciate you again. Okay, let me know if I can do anything for you.
All right, Lois.
All right,
take care.
Okay, you too.
I'm a warrior. Anything you place in front of me, I'll be victorious.